Welcome to the Chicks on the Right show. Man, are you guys ever in for a treat today? Because we have with us talk show host of the Dennis Prager Show, best-selling author, co-founder of PragerU. He's kind of a big deal, but he's also a periodic orchestra conductor, a speaker of many languages, an expert about the Middle East and about communism, and he's got a voice that can melt butter. Welcome to our show, Dennis. Thank you for being with us.
Now I'm afraid to say anything because I can only disappoint your audience. After that, what am I going to do?
Well, melt butter with your voice. That's what you're going to do.
I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Dennis, we really are super excited that we have this time with you. And we want to talk to you, obviously, about what's happening all over college campuses right now and ask you specifically if you saw this coming a mile away, or if the extent of the violence, the protests, the signs is surprising to you.
It's the perfect question. I saw this coming when I was at Columbia in the 1970s. The thugs took over the university when I was there, and the thugs are taking it over today. There is no difference. The important lesson that I derived was not about the thugs. It was about college presidents and deans. I was stunned. I was 22 years old when I was a graduate student at Columbia. And I was stunned at the cowardice of the president of Columbia at the time, whose office was taken over by these thugs, left-wing thugs, and did nothing. I think they were served cookies, in fact. If I'm not mistaken, I do believe that refreshments were brought in. Same with dean's offices. And so I realized at a very, very early age, and I have never wavered on this, one of the criteria to be a college dean or president is cowardice. If you have courage, you are disqualified from the position. And nothing has changed. So I didn't see this a mile away. I saw it, if a mile is a year, 50 miles away.
Wow. So what do you say to the people that are like, well, this is free speech, Dennis? I mean, this is kids exercising their right to, their First Amendment. What do you say to them?
I'm an absolutist on the First Amendment. If you want to go around and say Israel should drop dead, which is what they think, it's the only country on earth. I just want to know something here. The people who claim that anti-Zionism has nothing to do with anti-Semitism, if the only country of the 220 on earth that you think should be obliterated is the only Jewish country, it's fair to say you are an enemy of the Jewish people. Nobody assumes anti-Semites have to hate every single Jew in order to qualify as an anti-Semite. If I want Italy destroyed, I'm anti-Italian, even if I have Italian friends. Okay, so let's live on Earth and not in the make-believe world of academia.
Mm-hmm. And
the freedom of speech is not the issue. You can't take over the campus.
Yeah,
right.
That's all.
Exactly.
You march all you like, speak all you like. I will defend you, but take over the campus. Why they weren't expelled within a day is cowardice. Because I'll tell you something. Let us say, for example, all the pro-life students at Columbia took over the campus with an encampment. What do you think would happen?
Oh, we know exactly what would happen. Yeah, and we know why they're apologizing for these students. We've been talking a lot about that on our show. We know exactly why. It's because they're anti-Semites. That's why. That's why they're against the Jews.
Right, and by the way, yes, but it doesn't even matter. They have no right to take over the campus, even if they are on my side.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But here's the point. Conservatives don't do that. Only leftists do that.
Yep.
It's true.
That's very true.
And so as an expert on all things Middle East and on communism as well, I'm just curious because, there's no question in our minds, we've been talking about this obviously since October 7th, that Israel, of course, has the right to defend itself, and their goal, which is to eradicate Hamas completely, is the right goal. But can you do that when the babies, like from birth, are taught to hate Israel? Is that even a possible thing to be able to eradicate an entire ideology? And if it is, how should Gaza be governed? Assuming that they can get rid of Hamas, how can it be governed? How should it be governed?
From 1933 to 1945, every German baby was taught that Jews should be eradicated from the earth, that they were unser Unglück, our misfortune, that all things bad were the result of Jews. What happened? The Nazi regime surrendered. A different ideology was brought into Germany, and then you had one of the major democracies of the world eventually take root in Germany. If Hamas surrendered, not one Palestinian, not one Gazan would be killed. But they won't surrender.
Yeah.
In Japan, we dropped 2 atom bombs till they surrendered. Did anyone accuse America of genocide? No one. Even people who thought the bombs were wrong didn't say, oh, America's committing genocide. 500,000 people in the last few years have been killed in Ethiopia. Nobody even knows about it. 500,000. How come there are no demonstrations about genocide?
It's a great question. It's a really great question.
Because they don't care when blacks kill blacks.
Right.
They only care if Jews kill Palestinians.
And it's also, I think some of it has to do with our education, though, too. I mean, a lot of it has to do with our educational system, too, because, we talk about indoctrination, for the Palestinian people. But also you look at American kids, and I know like my daughter she's 14. She goes to school here in Texas, and they're not taught about the Holocaust. And if she wants to look something up about the Holocaust at school, it's blocked on her computer. And I'm in Texas, Dennis. So I mean, it's like,
wow,
so I think, yeah.
Wow.
So this is, and
both of them are a wow.
Yeah.
I wrote a column. I write a column a week and have for 20 years. I wrote a column in the last year. I hope your viewers will watch it, will read it. And it is that Americans are not taught about evil. American students know nothing about evil.
Yeah.
They don't know about Auschwitz. They don't know about Gulag. The only evil they're taught is that George Washington had slaves.
Right.
No, I'm serious.
No,
yeah,
you're
it's up
exactly
to
right.
parents. It's totally up to parents.
The left has made the curricula. The left is a despicable force since the French Revolution till Lenin and the Russian Revolution.
Yeah.
You know that this is just an example, a completely different issue, but to give you an idea how my motto, everything the left touches, it destroys. There is a bill in California now, which may well pass because the Democrats can pass a bill that the earth is flat if they want. They have a supermajority in the governor. So there is a bill that Clear, which is a way of getting through the line faster if you pay for it at airports, because it just immediate recognition of your eyes or your fingerprints. You go right through. Should be banned because it's not right that anybody gets in faster than anybody else.
Oh my God.
Just because you have the money to pay for Clear. This is really important. More evil has been done in the name of equality. More people have been slaughtered, 100 million, than in the name of any other ideology in history.
Yeah.
But it's so tempting because people envy people who can do more or have more. But I don't know why they won't abolish first class on airplanes or business class or expensive restaurants. Is it fair that some people could eat in expensive restaurants and others go to Burger King?
Yeah. Well, some people choose to do that. But I mean, I find it interesting. They want to abolish Clear, but yet they're fast tracking illegals throughout the country. They're pushing them through on airlines and on planes, and they're just like letting them go, and they're bypassing security and all that kind of stuff via the Biden administration. They're doing that. We're hearing about that now. So that's very interesting that they're trying to abolish Clear. When they're doing that, it's like, okay, that makes no sense. But then again, liberals make no sense. So
Well, they are wrong, but they make sense. Within their world, if in fact equality is the greatest good, then you abolish inequality. That makes sense. That's why we have to fight the ideal itself. Equality of result is not an ideal. It is not.
Right.
Equality of opportunity, equality before the law, equality in God's image, but not equality of result.
This is why we're
lead to
constantly
violence.
This is why we always tell people to make sure to read Harrison Bergeron because that's the warning, right? I mean, this is why we always talk about the Harrison Bergeronification of America.
Right.
And
we're seeing
the fact, we just talked about Palestinians being taught from birth to hate Israel, to hate Jewish people, but our own kids in America are also products of the public school system. They're being taught that America is irredeemable, that we're evil, that we're racist, and it's institutional, and there's no getting around it unless we just get rid of white people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to say, but our side is having its problems morally too. My column this week is about a guy I've admired not my whole life. He's too young, but decades. He's done a PragerU video for me. I've been on his show. Tucker Carlson said, if you think that the atom bomb over Egypt, he just said this on Joe Rogan 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
If you think the atom bomb was correct, you're evil. So that means for 80 years, virtually every liberal, forget leftists. Leftists always said it was wrong. Every liberal, every conservative virtually has understood it saved massive number of Japanese lives because it forced them to surrender.
Mm-hmm.
So if even on our side, moral clarity is defective, it's reason for worry.
Yeah. I was going to ask you if you were optimistic. Yeah, I was going to ask you like how optimistic you were, because we're on this weird trajectory. Because we've been doing this for 15 years. And so, things have not gotten a lot better. And I was going to ask you if you were optimistic about things. And it doesn't sound like you are.
You're right. But I need to comment on that. But I just want to note things are better today than 5 years ago. The amount of fight in America from the right is greater today than it was then.
You think? Really?
There's no doubt in my mind. More Americans are aware that defund the police is a sick idea than a few years ago, than after George Floyd's death.
Okay.
That more Americans believe that having men who say they're women in women's locker rooms and competing in women's sports is a truly sick idea. Mm-hmm. There has to be something wrong with you to believe that is okay. Mm-hmm. You are defective.
Yeah.
It's not, I listen, I'm for capital punishment, but I won't say if you're against capital punishment, you're defective. I just think you're wrong. Mm-hmm. But you're defective if you think it is okay for men to compete with women. There is something wrong with the way you think. There's something defective with your conscience.
100%.
That's not a debatable issue. Capital punishment is a debatable issue.
Mm-hmm. Biology is not.
Right.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And fairness. I mean, the most elementary notion of fairness.
Yes.
As to my optimism, so I'm asked this all the time. So here's my answer. I have no use for optimism and I have no use for pessimism. I only care if you'll fight. And pessimists don't fight and optimists don't fight. The optimist thinks things will turn out fine, or it's all in God's hands, and I'm a deeply religious person. I have a 4 out of 5 volume Bible commentary out. People could check it out, the Rational Bible. My life is committed to publicizing and bringing the insights of the Bible to people. But this notion, it's all in God's hands. Well, if it's all in God's hands, don't do a damn thing.
Yeah.
Watch TV. What does that mean? It's all in God's hands. I don't know where people got that idea from. It's not biblical. I don't know where they got such a stupid idea. Oh, really? So then why should I do anything if it's all in God's hands?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why even pray? Why, if it's all in God's hands, don't even bother praying.
Yeah.
You're not going to influence him. He's already made up his mind.
Mm-hmm. There are so many.
It drives me crazy. So I have no use for optimism or pessimism. If you're a pessimist and you'll fight, fine. If you're an optimist and you fight, fine. Will you fight for freedom and for America? Mm-hmm. All those guys buried at Normandy Beach, I don't know how many of them were optimists. Most of them peed in their pants when they went onto Normandy Beach. Mm-hmm. Optimists don't pee in their pants, but they fought the Nazis. We have to fight our version of evil. It's leftism in America, not liberalism. Liberals are weak, but they're not evil. Leftists are evil.
How do you get people to not be afraid? Because, we hear from people all the time who they agree with us. They watch our show. They're constantly telling us, yeah, you said it or whatever. I mean, they believe in what we are talking about, what we're fighting for. But they're like, but I don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to get canceled. Yeah. How do you stress the importance of speaking out?
That's another issue that I've dealt with a lot. So I've been talking about courage all of my broadcast life, 40 years, and it's the most important trait in making a good world. So finally, I decided to give a speech how to become courageous, and it's my bottom line. Almost sounds simplistic. It is simple, but it's not simplistic. We are what we want to be. That's a general rule in life. If you want to be kind, the odds are you'll be kind. If you want to be courageous, the odds are you'll be courageous. If you just decide, I will be courageous, that's it. There are people who fear flying. The only way to overcome fearing flying is to get on a damn airplane.
Maybe not Boeing, though. Just
okay, that's another matter. No, it's look. I just flew 30 hours from Africa.
Oh my gosh!
So, I live on airplanes. I don't care who makes them, but it's a tragedy what's happened to Boeing. I agree with you. But I deal with the issue if people fear flying. What you decide is, I will fly. I do want to visit my kids in another state. I will fly. I do want to see the world. I will fly. So what you do is you figure out, what will it take? Sleeping pills. That's an example of what it will take. Excuse me. 30 hours of flying gets you stuffed.
Totally.
But another thing, bring two friends. Do what it takes to undo your fears. I fully acknowledge, I don't need to travel with friends or sleeping pills. In fact, I fall asleep. I'm so relaxed on planes, I fall asleep before they take off. I'm not joking with you. To me, an airplane is just a bus that flies. So I'm lucky. I don't have that battle, but everybody has these battles. And now, if you're really going to lose your income if you speak out, I can't say to you glibly, okay, lose your income. Okay? Most people will not lose their income. Mm-hmm. Most people will lose some friends, but you want to lose those friends.
Exactly.
I don't understand why you want to fake who you are to keep your buddies.
Exactly.
So the advantage, one of the many advantages of speaking out, is that when you come out of the closet, you not only make enemies, you make friends. Mm-hmm. Because then kindred spirits will know you exist, and you will be a happier human.
Yeah. I'm always astounded that parents are afraid to speak out on our side. Like, parents, especially on our side of the aisle, are afraid of speaking out. Cause I'm like, I think being a mom is one of the things that gave me even more courage than I had before, because now I'm like, I have things to fight for. So I'm always like, why don't you want to fight for your kids? Especially when it comes to the transgender issue. I'm just bewildered that these people are just
afraid. Like, people are afraid of being unpopular.
It's
that ridiculous. I don't have sympathy with. I have sympathy with those who will lose a job.
Yeah, I guess
I do not have sympathy. First of all, if you're at all God-centered, you should only fear God.
Right.
Fear God is the great antidote to fearing people. Mm-hmm. I fear God, and that's it. Okay? It's unbelievably liberating. I sleep like a baby. I am wildly hated. I am wildly loved. And as I tell people all the time, if you let the compliments go to your head, you will let the insults go to your heart. So the compliments don't go to my head, and the insults don't go to my heart. I have to answer to God and be admired, hopefully, by my kids and my wife.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and so does everybody else. Everybody else has to answer to God. So you think that a lot of people would be thinking, maybe I should concentrate on that instead of concentrating on what everybody else thinks of me. Yeah.
Do you have a lot of...
I just want to say, does God think men give birth?
Exactly.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Do you have like a big circle of liberal friends? I'm curious now, that because I was going to say, because is it because
I have a big circle of liberal relatives. I'm Jewish after all.
Right. How do you explain that? Like, what is this? Why is it such a monolithic group vote?
Yeah, well, first, it's not monolithic. So this is important for your listeners to understand. Religious Jews are overwhelmingly conservative. Overwhelmingly. Religious Jews are even more conservative voting-wise than evangelical Christians. 90% of Orthodox Jews vote Republican. So the Jews who believe the Torah is from God are all conservative. The Jews who believe that men wrote the Torah, that's the first 5 books of the Bible, they are overwhelmingly liberal. Why Jews vote that way I can't explain it. It might take too long, but please understand. This is what I always explain this to Christians, because much of my life is with Christians in the Christian world. And see, when a Christian leaves Christianity, he's no longer called a Christian. When a Jew leaves Judaism, he's still called a Jew. That's the difference. It's a very big difference. There are as many people who came from Christian roots who are now leftists as Jews who came from Jewish roots are leftists. But the Jews are called Jews and the Christians are called leftists.
Right. So interesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's very important. It's a very important distinction for people to understand. You don't believe in God and the Bible, you're not a Christian. Mm-hmm. You don't believe in God and Bible, and you're born a Jew, you're still a Jew. George Soros is as Jewish as this mouse. Okay?
Yeah.
But he's called a Jew. He doesn't care about Judaism. He doesn't believe in God. He doesn't give a damn about Israel. He doesn't do a damn thing for Jews, but he's called a Jew.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's more than just a belief system. It's an ethnicity.
That's right. And that's true. It is. So it is what it is.
So, I mean, are you surprised? Well, I guess you're not then surprised to see so many, and I don't know about the number specifically, but we do know that there's Jewish students who are participating.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Right.
That just blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my future columns. It's called Sick Jews. There is no parallel to this group among any group in the world. It would be like blacks for apartheid or blacks for slavery.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Jews for Hamas is as sick as it gets. It would be like Jews for the Nazis, because there is the only difference between Hamas and the Nazis is that Hamas publicizes what it did and the Nazis hid what they did.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know why this is so hard.
It isn't.
It's not hard.
No.
It's not hard. It's that the mainstream media are run by leftists and they don't tell you the truth.
Yeah. And
so for them, Hamas and Israel are moral equivalents.
Yes.
'Cause it's amazing to me to see all the outcries about, all these student protesters who are the more violent ones, are saying things like kill all the Zionists. And I just am so amazed by that concept, being that they can just say that so easily while they're complaining about a genocide that's not even taking place when they're calling for one.
Perfect insight. The only genocide is the one that the Iranians and Hamas and Hezbollah want to inflict on the Jews.
Yeah.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. By the way, 500,000 people have been slaughtered in Ethiopia in the last 5 years. 500,000, not 30,000. And no one knows about it, and no one cares. And you know why? Because it's blacks killing blacks, and the left doesn't care about blacks who were killed. They only care about blacks who were killed by non-blacks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And cops specifically, if they're non-black cops.
Specifically.
Right.
And they don't care about cops who were killed by blacks.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right. Well, Dennis, I know we want to be respectful of your time, and we know that you are exhausted from your travels. So we appreciate you very much being with us. Really great insight. Where can people learn more about you, about PragerU, find your columns?
PragerU.com, DennisPrager.com. Also, I have they should read the 5,000 reviews, or even 20 of the 5,000 of the work of my life, the Rational Bible. I explain the first 5 books of the Bible, the bases of both the Old and New Testament, in a way. I know biblical Hebrew like English. This has been my life's teaching. They should get at least one of the volumes, and I know it will change people's lives. It's called the Rational Bible.
Perfect.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Dennis.
Thank you.
You guys are a joy. We'll do it again.
Thanks
Great.
a bunch.
If you invite me back.
We'd love to. Would love to. When you're not like jet lagged from a 30-hour trip, we would love to have you on. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.